Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're here. I just wish they had this when I started practicing law because I really needed it. We're going to cover a few different things today. I'm going to start with how you prepare to network with another person. And then we're going to go over to Gary, who's going to talk about how you actually do the physical networking. And then we're going to come back to me to discuss what is your personal brand and how are you going to use social media to show off your personal brand. And then Gary's going to wrap it up for us by telling us what you do after you network to actually have some great follow-up and get some business. So we're going to start right into how do you prepare to network effectively. One of the things I want to cover is, why should we network in the first place? If you're anything like me, when I got out of law school and I started practicing, it never dawned on me that I actually had to network. I've been practicing for about 25 years, and I'm embarrassed to say that the first 15 years, I didn't bring in a single client into my law firms that I worked for. And I think the reason why I didn't do it is I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what the steps were. I was kind of embarrassed. I felt like, I was trying to sell myself, and I kept telling myself, my job's to practice law. I don't want to be marketing anything. So I really had the wrong mentality about all of it. So I want to tell you why I think you should be a good networker and why you should bring in business to your firm. And the most obvious reason is, better income and job security. One of the firms that I left, I remember we lost a big client. They went to another firm, and we were in a position where there was a massive size down. So we had maybe 10, 14 attorneys, and immediately it was like layoffs, layoffs, and layoffs. It came down to 2 attorneys, myself, who was thankfully saved because I had a client that was still working with me that wouldn't work with anybody else. And then there was I call him the rookie lawyer because he hadn't been practicing very long, but he had 2 clients he had brought into the firm. And he had job security because he actually was bringing in business. Any law firm, you can be the greatest attorney on the planet, but ultimately, if you're bringing in business, you're seen as a rainmaker, and you have a value that I can't even put a hand on, but it's high, believe me. Then you want to actually build a trusted network. Why? Because you're going to have clients, right? And these are like your children. You watch over them, you take care of them, you give them great service. And when they need other things, like you may not be able to service them for family law or other types of law you don't practice, you got to send them to somebody else. And you don't want to send them to somebody that's not going to take good care of them. So you want to send them to somebody you know and that you trust and that's going to have your back and take good care of your clients. Then you're going to want to have control over what kind of law you practice. So in my case, I'm in a niche practice. I really like bigger cases. They're kind of meaty in the trade secret area. And if I'm networking and marketing in my field, I can bring in the kind of cases that I like to work on, which gives me control over the kind of law I practice, which I really like. And then finally, once you get over being terrified of the whole process, and Gary and I are going to make sure you're not scared anymore, then you're actually going to make some friends. Like Gary and I, we met through networking. We're friends now, and you're going to meet some wonderful people and make some friends and have doors open for you that you never would have thought of. So let's talk about building that trusted network. Why do we need this network? We need this network because, as I mentioned before, we need to have people that are actually going to take care of our clients. You only have probably 1 or 2 areas of law you practice, which means that your clients have needs. They're going to need a CPA. They're going to need other attorneys. They might have a need for insurance, a whole variety of things. And I want to be the trusted advisor beyond the lawyer. I want them to come to me for all my needs and all their needs. And I want them to make sure that they think, oh, Annabella, she's the person I need to go to when I need a good CPA because she's my trusted advisor. So if I have connections with other people in the business world, then I can make sure they're taken care of. Now, I do need a source for business referrals for myself, so I need to have other people that know that I'm a good lawyer and understand what my niche practice is so they can refer business to me. So how do we do this? You really have to look at your practice area and figure out the kind of people that are going to give you business. But I would say that for lawyers, other lawyers are always a wonderful referral source. So I make sure that I know lawyers in pretty much every specialty area that's out there. I need to find myself a good criminal attorney, a good family attorney, a good tax attorney. There's probably, I don't know how many different kinds of attorneys there are, but there are many. And I would suggest that you start building relationships with different attorneys, and then maybe some CPAs and different other professions. But start with the attorneys first, because I think a lot of referrals go on between attorneys. Now, what are you doing when you're doing this trusted network? You're trying to figure out who you can connect with. Who do you trust with your clients? And this is a personal thing. Maybe you're like me and you're very hands-on with the clients. You're very personal with them. Other attorneys, it's like all business all the time. And your style and the people you work with, hopefully they reflect how you work with your clients. So that's a big consideration for me. I'm trying to figure out what personalities work and how exactly we're going to connect together. So what do you have to do first? You have to do a little recon, right? So we're going to use Gary Johnson, my co-presenter, as our guinea pig here, and we're going to pretend like I'm checking out Gary. It's like, okay, Gary Johnson, do I want to do business with this guy? Do my clients want to do business with him? So what am I going to look at first? I go on the internet and I start searching out Gary. And this is before I even pick up my phone to call Gary the first time. I open the internet, I do a search on his name. I'm going to check out his LinkedIn profile. I'm going to read it and understand what his business is and try to get a feel for the kind of person he is. So if I open his LinkedIn profile and I open his website and I understand what his services are, that's important for me, because when I finally meet with Gary, I don't want to sound like I'm walking in there just dummy, not knowing anything about him. I want him to know that I took the time and I cared enough to actually figure out who he is. And the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to decide, let's say I like what I see, and I do like what I see when I saw Gary's stuff, because I could see that he's very experienced at marketing. He's been doing this a long time. I agree with his philosophy about marketing, which is basically to give to others and make value for others so you can help them out and then hopefully get some business back from it. But his philosophy and mine are similar. I like the fact that he does, work with nonprofits. So we're both kind of nonprofit service-minded people. I like his approach to marketing, which is very similar to my own, which is why we're speaking together today. And so philosophically and business-wise, I can see he's competent, and we have the kind of connection that I could foresee us maybe doing business together. So finally, having figured out those things, then I'm going to start thinking about what can I do to benefit Gary when I actually talk to him? Let's say we like each other. What can I do to actually bring him some business or make a connection for him or do something of value? Because that's always where my head is. How am I going to give value? So I saw when I looked at his LinkedIn profile that Gary does a lot of public speaking and does a lot of marketing. And I thought, you know what? I know CEB. Wouldn't it be great if Gary and I could co-present about how to do marketing together? This would be a wonderful collaboration. I'd get to know him better. It would benefit him, bring him some marketing, bring myself some marketing. And so that's how I'm speaking to you here today, because I did some recon and I made a connection, made a friend, and I'm taking it to the next level. Now, let's assume that you have done all this recon and now you're ready for the meeting. Maybe you're going to present yourself in a room full of people, or maybe you're going to introduce yourself personally when we have lunch with Gary and I, or maybe it's a Zoom call. Whatever it is, you need to be in a position where you can actually give some information about yourself as a lawyer and what your specialty is. So you need to learn to do an introduction. And how that introduction is going to depend on how much time you have and what the circumstances are. So if I'm standing up in a room and introducing myself and they tell me I've got, 20 seconds to introduce myself, then I'm not going to start giving my life story. I need to be able to explain quickly what I do. So I have short introductions and longer introductions. So my short introduction might be, hi, I'm Annabella Bonfa with Wellman & Warren. My specialty is trade secrets. I handle cases in which people steal confidential information from their employers and go to another company and take the stolen information with them to compete against the former employer. It's fast. People understand what I do rather than saying trade secrets and everybody's head starts spinning around. like The Exorcist because I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I have a longer period of time and Gary and I are on a Zoom call together or we're having lunch, I like to tell stories. So, I want Gary to be interested in what I'm doing rather than giving him some complex set of facts. I'm going to tell him a story. Oh, Gary, it's so nice to meet you on this call. He's going to say, Annabella, what do you do? Then I'm just going to start talking about my story. Well, right now I'm handling a case in which Mike, who was a 17-year employee and the sales manager, decided to help himself to some of my clients' confidential information, like all their client data for the last 17 years. So Mike decided to contact his new employer that he was going to work for in a couple months and started working with 10 IT guys. And he allowed them to go onto my client server and download thousands of lines of information and sent a nasty little email that said, hey guys, when I join the new company, we're going to hit the ground running and we're going to take my last 17 years of information with me. I sued Mike, I sued the new employer, and we were able to get $1 million settlement. So that's my story. It doesn't take more than a minute, but at least it has some meat to it and some facts. So Gary might be interested, and then he can ask me, more about Mike, more about the company, and whatever else. So have a plan and be able to introduce yourself. We're going to move on to Gary now, and he's going to tell you how to actually network and what you do once you're in that networking situation.
Thanks, Annabella. So years ago, I used to do a lot of networking because people said, you're outgoing, you're an extrovert, you've got positive energy, and we think that you could get a lot of business from it. So I did it for about 90 days, and I did it like full force, and I got zero business from it, like nothing. And in doing so, I was really frustrated because I was spending a lot of time and I wasn't getting anything out of it. And what I did was I looked at what am I doing? And what I was doing was a strategy, and it was called show up and throw up, where I would show up to an event, I would verbally vomit all over everybody out there, and I wouldn't get any business. And I go, well, of course, because I'm not doing it the right way. What I was doing was this guy right here. I didn't look like this, but it was the sleazy, trust me sort of thing. And what I want to share with you is things that you can do that are extremely effective. And here's the best part. They're really easy to do, but you got to do it on a regular basis. So the wrong way is this. You have a mentality of how can I push my agenda? What can I say to keep the attention on me or to even get the attention on me? What can I do to really impress other people? And how can I use each contact? So every time I'm talking to somebody, I'm going, okay, how can they benefit me? How can they benefit me? How can they benefit me? That's the wrong way to do it. And that's the way that most people teach people how to do networking. And as a business development and marketing coach, let me tell you, it's one of the worst ways that you can do it. And there's an easier way and a more integrity-filled way. Next slide, Annabella. And that way is what I call the right way. It's networking done right. I want you to ask yourself these questions when you are networking, whether you're going in person or it's Zoom or even if it's a telephone call. You need to be asking yourself these questions. What can I do to offer to others? How can I make others successful? How can I start and continue a friendly conversation? How can I put other people at ease? How can I be sincere and authentic with them? And how can I keep the attention on them instead of on me? Now, a lot of people go, you're crazy. Well, then how are they supposed to know what you do? Well, here's the whole point of networking. Networking is about connecting. It's about building a relationship. It's about doing a marathon, not a sprint. Sprint, you go in, out, okay, can you do anything for me? Nope, I go to the next person. Can you do anything? Nope, I go to the next person. You don't want to do that. This is a long-term thing. Annabella was so right on in regards to you will, when you get more and more experience, you will find most of your referrals come from other attorneys. And when you are building those relationships, especially if you build them now, in 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you're going to have these wonderful, rich relationships with people that you know, you like, and you trust. So you got to do it the right way. Next slide. So I want to show you some tactics. And these are very practical and they're really easy to do. First one is listen and take notes. Remember, the right way is all about them, all about them, all about them. So take notes about them. An easy way to do that is by asking people for their business card and then turning it over and starting to write on it. People will be like, what are you doing? They will. I'm telling you right now, you know, just full transparency. They're going to be like, huh, what are you doing? Why are you writing on my business card? And you just tell them this, you know what? I'm writing this down because I want to remember this. That right there, that statement makes that other person feel important. Because what's the alternative? As you're talking to somebody, have you ever had somebody do this? They're looking over your shoulder. Who else is here? It's annoying. If you are listening to them, and I mean really, really listening to them and taking notes, it will help you out dramatically with remembering. Okay, next slide. Watch your body language. So I have a lot of clients that say, well, my body language, like these three women, they might be comfortable. Maybe they're cold. So they should be doing this. Now, here's the thing about body language. Body language has nothing to do with you. Let me repeat that. Body language has nothing to do with you. So if these women are cold or if they're comfortable, it doesn't make a difference. Your body language has to do with the perception of you. And it's such an important element that you need to have a power pose where your feet are shoulder distance away and you are right in front of them without crossed arms and doing, you know, shrugging your shoulders and that kind of stuff. Watch your body language. It screams out so much stuff. Even on Zoom, it doesn't make a difference. Got to watch your body language. Next slide. The other one is conversation starters. A lot of people are like, well, how do I start off a conversation? Well, the one question that I would say never to ask is, or try not to ask, is the question that's asked all the time. So what do you do for a living? That does not make you memorable. This is all about making you memorable. So ask conversation starters like, so are you originally from around this area? Like we're in Southern California. So are you from here in Irvine? And if they say, no, I'm originally from Wisconsin, what made you decide to come out here? There are so many things that can go on with that. You eventually want to get to what do they do for a living, but don't start with that. You can start with sports, you can start with hobbies, interest on the weekends, but try and get to know the individual. The other is keep the conversation going. Don't let there be a lag. There are three things that are really important on this. And these three things are smile, be interested in them, and bring energy. Be interested in them. Dale Carnegie has a great quote. To be interesting, you have to be interested. So ask them lots of questions. Be like a really good attorney that you're trying to figure out all of the information and the knowledge, but don't do it like a deposition. But keep the conversation going as much as possible. The other is mirror them in their speech patterns, in their body language, unless it's bad body language, but mirror them because it allows you to connect with them on a deeper level. Next one. Okay, so I get this question a lot. When and how do I know whether it is acceptable to go up to a group? So here's the situation. You're at a live event. There's a bunch of people that are there. You don't really know anybody. How do you go up to 2, 3, 4 people, a group of people? Well, here is, and there's science behind this. You look at their feet. If their feet are like this picture where they're all pointed in, hopefully they won't have all red shoes, but if they're all pointed in, that means that they are having a deep conversation with the other people. You don't want to go into that conversation. If they're pointed out into the room or just kind of sideways, that tells you that they're not having that serious of a conversation and you can go up to them. It works. I'm telling you, it works like a charm. It's a magical thing. Next slide. There we go. Now we're back to you, Annabella.
Okay, now we're going to talk about your personal brand and marketing yourself using social media. I find this really fascinating, but a lot of times when people start marketing, they don't really figure out what they're all about. This takes some self-reflection and taking a good look at yourself to figure out what is it you're selling. I mean, we are selling something, right? We're selling our services, but we're also selling something beyond just our services. Believe it or not, I mean, if you line up 10 attorneys in a row, people are going to do business with people that they like and that they connect with, assuming all things equal, that everybody's confident. In fact, I've seen people do business with people they like that are maybe even a little less confident than a competitor, but there's something about them. There's some kind of connection there. So you got to figure out what your brand is and what you're selling. So what you want to do is get out a piece of paper and start figuring out, what is important to you. I mean, obviously, when I'm selling legal services, my specialty is the most important thing. So in my case, I do business litigation, but I actually brand myself as a trade secret litigator because that area is a little more narrow and it's easier to remember. If I say, oh, I handle contracts and I handle unlawful detainer, and I start giving you some list of 20 things, your mind is boggled. You can't remember it all. So it's much better to stay narrow so that the brand for a legal area can be something memorable. So I focus on trade secrets. Now, when I get together at a lunch, I could talk about other things, but for now, I'm centering on the trade secret area. We talked about how I consider myself to be a business and personal advisor. So when I have a connection with a client, I'm not just trying to solve their legal issues. I'm trying to give them business advice and try to look at the whole business and figure out, what I can bring that's of value to make connections with them with other people, not just for marketing, but because I want to be that person, as I mentioned before, they come to for everything. In my case, I'm a big community service advocate. I'm a member of Rotary. Every other weekend, everybody rolls their eyes probably because they see me. I might be with the Marines feeding them hot dogs. I might be at a place where they have dogs, trying to get the dogs to be adopted. So my Rotary Club is involved in probably 40 projects a year. So I do a lot of community service hands-on stuff where I'm helping a lot of people. I enjoy spending my time this week. My family does it with me. And so I always have the community service brand and leader connected with my name. And I find that other people that enjoy doing community service, whether they're part of food banks or they might be part of, supporting the military, those people and we connect because we kind of see the world as, we're here to kind of make our community a better place. And that message and that connection actually really reinforces my brand as an attorney. I do a lot of speaking on networking and social media. So that's kind of a small part of who I am. And then I see myself as a bar advocate. I mean, since I got out of law school, I've always felt that lawyers are kind of like, we don't have a great reputation. A lot of people think we're selfish and all we care about is ourselves, and we see our clients as a human ATM. I mean, remember Jurassic Park? Remember when the lawyer got eaten when he was sitting on the john and everybody was like, yeah, I mean, they were probably doing the wave in the middle of the movie. And I was looking around, I was like in law school at that time thinking, well, welcome to the most hated profession in America. And I actually was upset by that. I thought, I don't want to be known as a shyster lawyer. I mean, I really thought, since I was actually a law clerk for many years, and since high school I actually worked for a law firm, I really think that this profession is one of a noble profession where we're helping people, we're making a difference, we're solving problems. I was very proud to be a lawyer, and I still am. And I really spent a lot of time going to different law schools talking about how you can actually be a good lawyer beyond practicing law, by caring about your clients, by providing good service, by being the rock they can lean on when terrible things happen to them. So that's a big part of my brand too. And because of that, when I'm networking with other people, I'm trying to see who else has that similar kind of mentality. So again, take a good look at yourself and try to figure out who you are as a lawyer and who you are as a person, so you can figure out when you do social media, what kind of message you're sending. So I start with my LinkedIn profile, and in my LinkedIn profile, I'm immediately going to show people these different little hats I wear, right? So there's the lawyer hat, there's the networker hat, and the social media person, because LinkedIn has those feature photos, and I'm going to show the photos. I'm not embarrassed to show a photo of me standing in a snowstorm, after a successful hearing with my client hanging on me, because that's who I am. I'm very hands-on. I'm not embarrassed to have, myself picking carrots in a field, for community service, donating food, because again, that's part of my brand. Now, keep in mind that my brand does not appeal to everybody. There's going to be people out there that go, oh, her, too goody two shoes, too, touchy-feely. A woman, I'd rather have work with a man who's over 65 that's wearing a Brooks Brothers suit. There's going to be people that my brand doesn't appeal to. But I disregard that because I know that my brand is going to really appeal to some people. I don't need everybody to like me and do business with me. I'm interested in connecting with people that understand who I am and what I'm about. And the rest of them, I'm going to forget about them because I'm smart enough to know at this point in my career that you really need to sell yourself to the people that you really connect with. So when I did the LinkedIn bio and I did the About section, you have to answer who you are and who your clients are and what you do for them. And you really have to keep it simple so that anybody can understand what you do. If you start getting into jargon like TROs, injunctions, and trade secrets, nobody gets it. So it has to be explained in a really simple way. And then I'm going to have a little bit of a glimpse in my LinkedIn profile about my Rotary business, the Rotary community service work I do and my speaking, just to give a little bit of flavor so I won't be the dry lawyer. Again, I show the front of the business card and I show the back of the business card. And when I do social media, my posts are going to be consistent with the brand, which is what? I'm going to have posts about trade secrets, what's going on in the news. I'm going to do, put my phone out and have a video of me where I'm giving some advice. I can go on and give you 10 seconds of advice about trade secrets. So I might say, hi, everybody. I'm Annabella Bonfa, trade secret attorney. I want to give you some quick tips about trade secrets. My tip of the week is if you hire somebody else, make sure you read the contract from their previous employer and make sure you tell them, do not bring anything to my company from your old employer because you don't want to end up being defendant number one in a lawsuit for trade secrets because your new employee stole information from their past company. That's it for today. I'll see you next week. So a quick little bit of sharing of legal advice in my area can be interesting, done quickly, and give some value. You're going to see Rotary stuff on my LinkedIn page because I like to share my community service work. I like to invite people to come do community service with me. And then you're going to see me doing networking. During COVID, that involves a lot of Zoom meetings, and I like to come up with themes, where we have a hat party, we have whatever else is going on to keep things lively and interesting. Again, just a flavor, trying to share the flavor of the business side and the other side. And finally, I'm doing a lot of marketing other people because that is where it's at. Just like Gary said, if you're smart, you're not going to focus on me all the time. It's really going to be about other people that you are trying to market. And I'm trying to market all the people that I do business with. So on the left side, you can see that there's a photo of Jane Tittle, who is a realtor who I know well, and I like her and I trust her. We both do community service work together. And I saw that she had this great article where she was featured. So I shared her article on my social media and just said a couple of words about her. Why? Because I want her to get business. I like her. I enjoy doing business with her. And I'm going to spend a little time highlighting her. The middle photo, there's an attorney called Michael Schaff, who's a tax attorney. And Michael and I have also done business together. And when I was going to meet with him, I did my usual recon, and I saw that he had this great article that was published by the Daily Journal, which is many of you know is the lead trade journal of our industry. And I put a link to this particular article that he wrote and just said a couple of words, because again, I'm trying to market him. And then on the right side, it was obviously pre-COVID when we could actually get together. I was working with a couple that actually help trial witnesses be better speakers. And I had the idea, of getting my son together with them because I wanted him to be a good presenter. He had some presentations coming up for school, and I asked them as a favor to me, would you work with my son and get him to be a better speaker and better presenter? And they came to my house and they videoed him and they gave him all these fabulous tips. The Palmers are their name. And while they were doing this, I took some quick photos and video because I wanted to write a LinkedIn thank you to them and talk about what great presenters they are and great services. And as a result of this, you can see there's almost 3,000 people that looked at these pictures on my LinkedIn profile, and other people called them up and said, oh, I have a college-age daughter, I have a college-age son, will you do it for me? And they got business out of it, which is what I want. I want people to hire the people I like. So let's say that, obviously you might have like 25 years of experience like I do, and you're kind of, limited. Maybe you have no legal experience. Maybe you have like this much legal experience. So what are you going to talk about and how are you going to market your legal services? You're going to have to focus on different things, such as, your customer service skills, because if you're doing marketing, it's because either A, you want to get a job, or B, you want to get some clients. But either way, if you don't have a lot of legal experience, customer service experience, management, your writing skills, your ability to analyze things, organizational skills, negotiations, deadline management, and even community service can be a great way to market yourself. So focus on those things. Now, I know you're all thinking, oh, well, she's got a lot to talk about, but what about me? I'm kind of the newbie. So my son, Anthony, is going to be our little guinea pig. And I'm going to show you how even somebody with very limited experience and practically no work experience can still use the same principles I'm talking about to show the brand, his brand, and what he has to offer employers. So Anthony is a senior in high school. He's had one job, basically, flipping waffles in my husband's waffle truck. So he doesn't have a lot of professional experience. But again, he's going to show off his brand in social media by saying what work he has done, which is food service professional services. And he's going to show his interest in going into engineering and other things he has, such as community service. He's a pianist, and he's got some other things going on. So again, my point is that if he can do it, he's 17, you're out of law school, you certainly can too. So in his profile, just like my profile, you're going to see a little bit of the backside of the car. You're going to see the engineering work he's done, working with a program where they're sending satellites into space as a high school student, his track athlete stuff, and his piano playing and performing. And then you're going to see the community service work he does. And we're going to use all this to show off the brand. And then when we get over to his profile, we're going to focus on what work he has done professionally, which is not a lot. And then we're going to show how his current activities back up the actual engineering interests he has, such as the satellite stuff. So for you, let's say you don't have any legal clerkships and you have nothing to write about. That does not mean that your work that you've done in the past doesn't have any impact. I remember talking to a law student, and he said, nobody's going to hire me as a law clerk because I've never worked for a law firm. And I told him that's not true. I said, you have great experience. You've been working as a manager of a collections department. I said, you know what that tells me? You got negotiation skills. And I said, what do you do? He said, I manage maybe 20 different people in the collection department, and I said, how did you get promoted? He said, I got promoted because when I talk to people, I can keep them on the phone and get them to pay, without riling their feathers. And I said, this is so wonderful. I said, because you're a negotiator, you manage all these people, you've got leadership skills. And I said, what you have to do is talk about your leadership skills and your ability to negotiate and get that into a clerkship. Because frankly, I'd rather hire somebody that has negotiation skills than somebody that just has, 3 months of clerking doing absolutely nothing for some firm. So you got to work it, whatever you have going, whether it's dealing with the public, unless you have fast food experience, then go in and say, you know what? I've worked in a very high turnover kind of restaurant. Long hours, and I'm used to dealing with the public. There's these complaints about their food, their service, and whatever else. And I can go in there and I can make sure that people are satisfied when they leave. So whatever that experience is, you connect it in to show that you'd be good for a law firm. Anthony's social media, again, the brand. There's the athlete brand, there's the community service brand, there's the engineering brand. So again, anybody can do this. Whatever your brand is, you need to get out there and show it, and show us the front and back sides of your car so you can connect with people. And we're going to go back now to Gary, who's going to talk about what do you do after you network to have great follow-up.
So we've got, you did the recon beforehand. You actually went to an event, and I know there's a question in there like, where do you go, that we'll get to. But you've gone to an event, or you're networking with people, coffee, Zoom call. You have branded yourself, and you're on LinkedIn or other social media. And now what? Now what do I do? You know, I've met these people. Now what I do? Well, you follow up. And one of the biggest missed opportunities I see with attorneys, and I work with attorneys all day long, this is one of the biggies. This is one of the things that you put in so much time and effort into networking that they fall down completely on the follow-up. This goes back to my show up and throw up. I wasn't doing any follow-up. So do the other up instead of throw up. So now a lot of people say, okay, well, what do I do for follow-up? Well, here, I'm going to give you some ideas that if you do this, you're going to connect with people a lot better and a lot more meaningful. Because again, if you remember the wrong way, that sleazy individual, follow-up could be seen as sleazy. It could be seen as, oh, give me business, give me business, give me business. And if you do it the way that I'm going to show you right now, you won't have that go into somebody else's brain at all. So the first thing is be personal. Make it personal. Do not talk about business. Again, this is kind of a weird thing. Well, I'm networking for business. Why don't I talk about business? Because what you're doing is you're connecting with people. You're building relationships with them. So make it personal. This goes back to that first thing that I said for the tactics, which was take notes. Listen and take notes. If you're taking notes and you're like, oh my God, I just met Annabella. She really has a heart for service. She's in Rotary. Her son is also somebody who is in service as well, because they're always together. It's just, it's a wonderful thing that I can connect with them on. I want to send them something like that. I want to talk about that personal stuff. Also, send them an email the next day if you can. The reason why is because it'll be fresh to their mind. If you send it a week or 2 weeks later, they may not remember. But if you send it the very next day that says, hey, Annabella, it was great meeting you at the event last night. I love how you shared your service. Would love to get together with you. But that email needs to come the very next day. It's such an important element. The other is build on that connection that you had with them. You've had that connection, start to build on it. If you make it personal, you'll definitely do that. Have a call to action. This is such a big one, because if you just kind of leave it out there and just say, hey, Annabella, it was great meeting you. And I love how you shared this. You stop. She may not respond. I mean, you may have a call to action. She still may not respond, but the chances of her responding by giving her a call to action that says, I'd love to continue on with this relationship. Do you have time over the next couple of weeks that we could jump on a Zoom call? That we could do, go to coffee if you feel so comfortable. But have some sort of call to action with them. And again, don't get sucked into the business aspect of it. Whatever you do, don't do it. The other is once you do this follow-up, so you make it personal, you send them an email, you're building on the connection, you have that call to action, stay in contact with them. You're doing all of this work. Why? So you can build on the connections. And like I said before, it's a marathon. Don't look at it as a sprint. It's a marathon. It's going to take some time. When you do that, you need to continually stay in contact with them. That may be once a month. It may be once a quarter. It should never go past once a quarter. If you ever think, oh, I'm just going to reach out to them in 6 months, you might as well throw all of their information away, because that's no sort of connection that you have with somebody. Build on the relationship. Remember when we were talking about know, like, and trust so that people can refer you business? The trust is such an important element with follow-up, because if you follow up and you stay in contact with them, they will trust you. They know you're going to be there. They know that you're you're a person of your word, so they will constantly connect with you. And literally it's this simple. I'm not even kidding you. It is this simple. I want to give you let's just call it a bonus thing that's not on here. If you meet somebody and you really connected with them, and it's like, let's just call it business sparks are going all over the place. And you're like, wow, this person could be really good for my clients, or it could be really good for me just as a network, having somebody in my network. I would highly recommend sending them a handwritten card, like a thank you card that says, Annabella, great meeting you. And you do the things that you would do on an email, except you would handwrite it. And you would want to handwrite it in blue ink. There's all sorts of science and psychology behind that. But if you do it in blue ink and you mention no business, and you just sign your name and you actually mail it to them, which is, I know, blows people's mind. But what is it going to do? This person that you connected with is going to open it up. It usually takes about a day or two to get to them. They are going to remember you forever. I have a few people that have done this with me, and it blew my mind away. And it was while I was doing this, because I do this on a regular basis. I send people handwritten cards. And I get so many compliments, but here's the thing, is it makes you memorable. That's what business development is all about. That's where you get your referrals, is for people to be memorable. And so by doing this handwritten card, and by the way, don't ever put your business card in there. Again, you want to take the business out of it. You want to make it about a connection. The business card just cheapens it. So get rid of it. But have something that is enabling you to connect with them on a deep level. So what we've talked about today was preparing beforehand, doing that recon work beforehand, before you even meet with somebody, or even before you go to an event, whether it is virtual or not. Then when you are there at the event, whether it's virtually or physically, make sure that you're doing the right things. Make sure that you have the right mindset. That is, it's all about them, it's all about them, it's all about them. And then you look at your branding and you make sure that your branding is true to you and that it is consistent across all boards. And that even if you just use one, if you use one at all, it should be LinkedIn, like what Annabella was highlighting. But be present on that. Engage with people on there. It's really not that scary. Once you start to do it a little bit more and a little bit more, you really start to get into the groove of it. And then you follow up with people. Following up is an important aspect that a lot of people forget. But when you do all of that stuff, you're going to have an excellent network. You're going to have people that you can refer your clients to. You're going to be a valuable source for everybody. What we call a COI, which is Center of Influence. Center of influence is one of the most important things for anybody that's networking. Whenever somebody calls me a COI, I'm like, I'm honored by having that title, because that means that I'm connecting people. It means that I'm doing my job to not only foster business for myself and my business, but also for others, because I've got the right mindset. And when you do that, all of your opportunities are going to come together. Here's the last point that I want to make. And this goes to my coaching that I have with my attorneys, is don't do it just once. It's like working out. When you do it the first time, it hurts. And it's going to hurt. Whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, it doesn't make a difference. In fact, I found that introverts are actually much better networkers because they do less talking. But you want to do it again and again and again. And when you do that, you're going to get better and better and better at it. You don't just wake up and just be like, I'm a great networker. Let me tell you, somebody who is very extroverted, that is very outgoing, that is not the case at all. You have to do the right things. If you do these things that Annabella and I had mapped out, I cannot tell you, I will guarantee you will get success out of it if you've got the right mindset. But you've got to do it again and again and again, even if it's painful. And when you do that, you will find the business will come in, and you will gain a lot of power, you'll gain a lot of confidence, and you'll gain a lot of control in the type of business that you're going to be bringing in. So I guess we're on to the question and answers, or the Q&A. I want to answer, somebody had said, can you give me an example of mirroring? So let me tell you, or give you a couple of examples of mirroring. One example of mirroring is the tone, pitch, and speed that you are speaking at. So when you are doing this, you want to listen to the other individuals. And when you are listening to them, what you will find is that they're going to talk really fast, or they're going to talk slow, they're going to talk loud, or they're going to talk soft. If you're talking to somebody from New York, let me tell you, I can almost guarantee you they will be talking fast, so you need to be talking fast. It allows you to connect with them. It's one of those things that if I told you that I grew up on the same street as you did, we'd automatically be connected. Why? Because there's that familiarity. It's the same thing with tone, pitch, and volume. So that's one example. The other is mirroring their body language. But there's a caveat to this. If somebody is slouching, you don't want to slouch. But if they're pretty wide open, then you want to be that way. You want to just kind of mirror a little bit of what they are. If they're standing back on one foot, or if they're really casual and they're talking with you, you want to talk to them in the same way. The other mirroring that comes into play is on social media, especially LinkedIn. And what you want to do is you want to see what other people are doing in regards to engaging, and especially if they engage on any of your posts, and you want to mirror that back to them. So what you're doing is you're using some of the same vernacular that they are, and some of if they're kind of loosey-goosey, you want to do the same thing. If they've got a lot of humor in it, you want to use that. If they're more serious, you want to use that. But you kind of want to mirror what they're saying as well. Any other thoughts on that, Annabella?
I think that you're right on, that you want to keep the conversation going too on social media. Just because you post something, that doesn't mean you leave it for dead. Once you do a post, you monitor your post, you see who's reading it, and you thank the people that are actually reading it. So if somebody says something, that's a support of your post, and you would want to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The other question that we got was, where can we network right now, since the in-person network is limited? Annabella, did you want to take that one, or you want me to take that?
I think that Zoom, there's a lot of Zoom networking going on right now, and I'm sure that Gary and I are both doing a lot of it. But when we reach out to people, we invite them to a Zoom call. I know I do, and I'm sure you do too, Gary, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this one takes some creativity. Also takes some lack of fear and going, okay, I'm going to reach out to somebody. So there's a lot of things when we're talking about networking. Instead of using the word networking, use the word connecting. So if we read this differently, where can we connect right now, since the in-person connection is limited? That enables you to have one-on-one conversations. That enables you to then also get into big conversations. There's associations like the ABA is a good one, the OCBA, LA Bar Association. You can join these and join into their networking opportunities that they have. There's other professional groups like Provisors. I mean, that's how Annabella and I know each other. That's also a really good one to network too. But look for those things. Also go onto LinkedIn, and that's another good place to find people that you connect with, and then have these conversations with them.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is pretty great for that. In fact, I was giving a presentation for the Lake Forest Chamber of Commerce, and there was a woman that reached out to me through LinkedIn and said, oh, I'm with Wise Place. We have women that are in transition. They were providing transitional housing for victims of domestic violence. I see that you're in Rotary. Nice to meet you. And I wrote back to her and I said, oh, we should have a call and talk about our community service interests, which we did. We had a phone call talking about it. And as a result of this phone call, we ended up doing a project this last weekend where My Rotarian friends and members are actually doing decoration of pumpkins that are going to be donated to her center. So,
Oh,
I'm forming this professional and business connection with her. Why? Out of just a reach out on LinkedIn. I
so
have another
awesome.
question. Somebody is asking whether there's any apps to help people keep up their exercise routine, and do we know of any app that might help us with our network routines? What do you think about that, Gary? I don't know
It's a
of an
great,
app. I guess I'm a little old school. I use Outlook. When I meet with somebody, then, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, first of all, I take Gary's advice and I send an email right away saying it was so enjoyable to have lunch with you. I really liked blah, 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 whatever it was. And then I'll put it on my calendar for maybe, a month or two. It depends on what's going on. And I do use the call to action. I'll say, it would be great now that we know that we both do community service together. Maybe you want to come to my next Rotary project, or maybe you'd like to speak at my provisors group. I put something out there that's of interest, or I send something. Maybe they like cooking and I might send them a recipe. Oh, we were talking about the pancakes at, IHOP, and here's my pancake recipe, whatever it is. I get people something that they're interested in to show that I'm interested and to further the relationship.
yeah. I don't know of an app. That's a great question. It's a great question. One of the things that I use, and this isn't an app, but it's a tool, is planning for the month. And in planning for the month, I look at how much time am I going to be spending on business development, which networking is a part of it. And then I look at the entire month and say, where am I networking at? And does that fit with my goal in regards to the number of hours that I need to be doing networking? But I don't know of an app. I'm going to actually look that one up. So I just wrote that down. I'm like,
I'm
that's a good
curious.
question. It's a really good question. Here's a quick one. When introducing yourself to someone new, should you always start with a handshake? 9 months ago, I'd say yes, absolutely, 100%, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now, no, I wouldn't do it right now, just because we don't know what the comfort level of other individuals are, and you need to be respectful of other people. And I would take a very conservative approach until they reach out to you. But more than likely, it's one of those air fist bumps or whatever, that awkwardness that we have right now. When we get back into in-person, I would say yes, do that. There's another question that says, if you don't have something specific to reach out to someone about, it may seem off to reach out for the sake of reaching out. How do you reach out to a large number of people routinely without something specific to say to them, but just want to keep in touch? This is the $1,000,000 question. This is one of the biggest things that I actually work on with my clients. And you're probably not going to like the answer. Before I completely answer the question, I know that the people in my network that are what I call my A players, I have certain individuals who send me a lot of referrals. I know these people inside and out. I could call them any day of the week, and I have something specific to talk about them all the time. Why? Why do I have that? Because I've got a deep, deep, deep relationship with them. And so what I challenge my clients to do is to build a list of 90 individuals who are the most important people in your business development life. And then you need to get to know them so well that you could have that call with them any time of the day. Now, that takes a lot of work to do. But here's the thing, is it pushes you to do this. What it does is it pushes you to get to know them specifically. I know that if I wanted to reach out to Annabella today, right after this, not about this webinar, but about something totally different, I could. And the reason why is because I consider Annabella a friend. I know a lot about Annabella. We do a lot of stuff together, and I know what makes her tick. And yes, Alexandra, I said 90. I know it seems like a big number, but it really isn't. Once you start to get to know these people, it's not that bad. But I would find out about these individuals. So I'll give you another example. If I am trying to connect with Kelly Chan, so Kelly is here. I know she's with CEB. I want to connect with her. I need to do some recon on her. I got to figure out how can I add value to her, not to me, to her. How can I add value to her? And when doing that, it's trying to look for something specific. Now, granted, you're not going to find it on every single person. Don't think that this is just, oh, it'll happen. It won't, but it does take a little bit of work. But let me tell you, when you do the work and you start to do this on a regular basis, one, you become better at finding it. And two, you'll build deeper relationships with them.
I think the question is also partially about, like, you know, if I don't know these people, I don't think nothing about them, then how am I going to open that door to start this relationship with a stranger? At least that's how I'm seeing the question. And I think that kind of goes back to the recon. I mean, I have reached out to people that I've never met. We have no connections in common. In fact, I host a show that's called The Edge, and Gary hosts a show for provisors as well. And I'm always looking for speakers. So I was looking through LinkedIn, and I read this great article about, you know, how to manage work life and family stress right now. And I wrote to this person that said, you know, I just read your LinkedIn article. I thought it was really interesting, your philosophy. I might have a need for a speaker, and I would be just interested in knowing a little bit more about, you know, what your thoughts are on this and different ways to deal with it. So I think it's pretty easy, actually, with doing a little recon to find out something about the person that is unique to them, and then reaching out to them with a unique proposition, having something to do with their background, and try to further the relationship. And I think people really appreciate it too. I always get responses. People don't blow me off because I make it personal to them.
That's it. And when you make it personal about them, it brings them in. It brings them in a big way. Kate Stanton, the brilliant attorney that she is, she had said, I would consider a CRM for tracking networking. She uses Zoho. Zoho is a great one. There's a lot of them that are out there. They're really all good. I mean, as long as you use them, though. That's one of the biggest things is people just don't use them. If you use them, they're fantastic. There are some others that you just use Excel spreadsheet, as simple as that. They use Outlook. The key thing is use what works for you and just keep it organized and stay on top of it.